know, I know. And so he asked me, how many more times are you going to attack this turn? Right? And so I say to him, until you die. I know. He scooped.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this format is just too gosh darn overwhelming. So before I get into it, I just want to start off by saying, obviously you've seen the title of the video. I don't know if premium needs a stricter ban list or not. At the end of the day, I can confidently state that I don't know whether or not adopting a stricter ban list is going to help the format or not. I can honestly go either way on it, and that's kind of what we'll get into. It's something I've been thinking about a lot recently, and it's been brought up a few times around me. I talked about it on my streams. Speaking of which, hey, follow me on twitch.tv/TieFighter. We're going live every Saturday morning. We're talking about Vanguard. It's a really good time. I love hanging out with you guys. It's really great. Anyways, and I keep hearing people talk about Tier 2 Premium. People always talk about, oh, Tier 2 Premium, the best. I love Tier 2 Premium. Like, yeah, competitive Premium right now, oof, that's a little try hard, but Tier 2 Premium, oh, some of the most fun you can have playing Vanguard. Tier 2 Premium. I started to think, well, what if instead of having this distinction, what if instead of having like, oh, we've got competitive and we've got Tier 2, and with all this talk about ban lists and stuff, what if a ban list took place that made Tier 2 Premium just premium? And of course, Tier 2 Premium already is just premium. Like you can, that's totally fine. But it was either in one of Different Fight's videos or on one of his streams back when all of this late G nostalgia was going on. He talked about how in G you had your setup stride and your finisher stride. If I'm remembering it correctly, it's been a minute now. But personally, I think I would like to see something like that in Premium right now, because if you're playing at the highest level in Premium, it really just kind of comes down to kill your opponent on first stride, and if you don't, they're probably going to kill you on their first stride, and that's if either of you even get to stride first, because some of the best decks are at their best by not letting you get to that first stride, right? And people want more defensive creep. They want to slow the game down, and a ban list could very well do that if you were to take that route. I personally would love to see something in Premium where the game slows down a little bit, and instead of having this race to kill your opponent on your first stride or before first stride, we have this more of a setup turn, and then a finishing turn. I would love to see something like that, because I think that would ultimately be more enjoyable and, at least for me, potentially more competitively rewarding, because instead of just hanging on by the seat of your pants and just hoping that you somehow survive enough to be able to get to that first stride without losing too many pieces, I think it would be potentially more rewarding. Now, obviously we don't have this currently, so I can't say for sure, but I just kind of want to put the idea out there. One of my favorite things to do in Premium is deck build around weird and janky ideas and just see if I can make them work. And if those kinds of things had more of an opportunity to shine in the format, I think I would be okay with that. So let's just kind of like look at it, right? I've seen people say they want stricter ban lists, or they want more comprehensive. Some people even going so far as saying they want a Konami style ban list. I've heard this one for a while now, actually. I remember one of my friends saying that years ago, that they wanted Vanguard to adopt a Konami style sweeping ban list. And now obviously this has its pros and cons. It will have its things that people like and that people will really dislike. Main thing being like, oh, people don't like investing in a card only for it to get completely nuked and then they feel like they wasted money on that. I think there's probably a way that we can avoid that. Of course, we've had situations like that before where something is obviously dominant, it's a top tier strategy, and people go and buy it out, or stores buy up a ton of product, like with Nemain, and then it gets choice restricted, and those people are out a ton of money because they were buying Nemains at a markup that they can no longer sell them back at. Looking at some of the pros, ideally, obviously none of this is guaranteed, but we're just looking at the most picture perfect scenario here, ideally the format becomes even more diverse. If we are adopting a mentality of a more strict ban list, ideally you take off what's at the top, what is completely overwhelming and hard to deal for most decks, and then you are able to then diversify the format even more. It makes it so that even more decks can kind of rise up and have their moment to shine and be viable within the competitive atmosphere. And that to me just sounds awesome, right? In addition to slowing the game down, we also diversify the meta. And honestly, I feel like the meta is already fairly diverse, at least compared to recent standard metas, but thankfully that looks like it's getting better too. But if that were to get even more diverse, obviously, I mean, I would love to get to a situation where somebody can pick somebody can pick whatever clan they want and potentially even whatever build of a clan they want, and then they stand a chance at the highest level of play. Is that realistic? Probably not. Could we get closer to that? Maybe. I would like to see it personally. And then the other thing is that this could make the format friendlier to new players coming in. There's a lot of people coming into premium right now, or at least expressing interest in the format. And if they start playing it and their first experience is getting looped on by Fenrir, where they just swing over and over and over with more attacks that just get bigger and bigger and bigger and can just kill them outright, that's probably not going to leave a very good taste in their mouth, and they're probably just going to go, oh, this isn't for me, and then they're just going to go on. Then I think we kind of, looking at the pros of a stricter ban list, we have a situation where it's not as intimidating and it's more fun to newer players. Rather than saying like, oh, come and play premium, tier 2 premium is like super fun, we can just say, hey, come play premium. The whole format is really fun. Now, on the other end of it, to take a look at cons, damage denial is a major part of the format right now, and I would argue a very skill-based aspect of the format. So at the highest level of play in premium, you're going to encounter damage denial at some point, because there are several decks in the format right now that if they have just one damage, they can do everything they need, and they can put out so much pressure and so much aggression so quickly that they will 0-6 you, right? So that asks a skill of the player at those highest levels to play around that, to know your matchups, to damage deny when you need to, and to not care about it if you cannot care about it. Things like that. And that's just an aspect of the game. It's not always the most fun to play that way, to sit there and ride up, pass. And then your opponent goes to their turn, they go ride up, pass. But it's an aspect of the game nonetheless. And I think there's an importance to that as well, in knowing how to play around your matchups and knowing what decks can kill you with that one damage and what decks can't. Whether your deck can survive the onslaught of just giving one damage to a certain deck and then push back just as hard. I think having that skill-based aspect of the game is important. And then you also kind of come to the argument of, well, if you just ban what's currently on top, then something else is gonna inevitably rise to that position. And then is that then too oppressive? At what point does banning what's at the top end? Because whatever's at the top, there's always going to be people who complain about it. And I would argue that probably people have a good point right now when it comes to complaining about what's at the top, when you have things like New Dio and Fenrir, where depending on how the game goes, you just may not even actually get to play, depending on what the matchup is. Because depending on what deck you bring against these, it may not be much of a game at all, because you'll just get completely curb stomped. And then, maybe that's on you. Maybe you should be playing a better deck against these like top meta contenders. But I do feel like it gets to a point where, do we just ban what's at the top? Do we just ban what people complain about? Or do we just try to like depower the format a little bit? And really, for me, if there were to be a more extensive ban list, that would be my preference. If we were to go full Konami and have a huge, long, sweeping ban list, I would love to see the format just kind of get slowed down a notch, bringing the overall power of everything down. And I think it would be really fun, because then you have what is essentially tier 2 premium just being premium, like I said. But it does get to a point of, you know, where do you stop? Where do you say, that's it, this is where it's at? Because everybody has their own opinion on what is fun and what they enjoy. And you can't please everybody. There's probably people who are completely fine with the way premium is right now and they want it to continue going on. And I think there's also a large crowd that I've definitely heard from recently that would love to see the whole format get taken down a notch, to see everything kind of get de-escalated a bit to where games don't end quite as fast. There aren't these decks that can put out crazy amounts of aggression right from the get-go and then not care about what's happening on the other side of the table. But like I said at the start of this, I really don't know. I really don't. I personally would kind of like to play in a format where everything's kind of like taken down a notch, and if that's the case, you can just kind of say, hey, go up to your friends and say, let's play some tier 2 premium. It's just something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I wanted to put it out there because I want to know what other people think, and that's where you guys come in. I would love to know your thoughts. Where do you fall on this debate? Do you think that there should be stricter, sweeping, Konami-style ban lists for premium, or for Vanguard in general, for that matter? Or do you fall on the complete opposite end of the spectrum and think that they should start unbanning things and like ramping things up even more? I think you kind of come to a point where the mentality is, if everything's broken, then nothing's broken. I don't know. Just let me know what you think. This is just something I've been thinking about for a really long time, and I wanted to put it out there, and I would love to know what everybody else's thoughts are. Thank you so much for watching and letting me know what you think on this topic. If you'd like to help me out, liking and subscribing and sharing and all that good stuff, all that good YouTubey stuff, really does help out a lot. We're closing in on that 1K. And it's exciting. So if you want to help me get there, really appreciate it. Also, follow me on Twitch, currently going live every Saturday morning, and we're just hanging out and we're talking Vanguard. Probably going to start playing some games here too, testing for premium stuff. It's just a good time, and I love hanging out with you guys, and it's a lot of fun. And you can also follow me on Twitter if you just want to, I don't know, see the memes and stuff that I post. I don't know. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. Till next time.